It's a big topic. I'm not gonna lie. So y'all strap in, get ready for this. There's big opinions coming up. We're still on the topic of DC. Uh, and the final DC movie just came out, and that was Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which I thought was fine. It actually, I had a good time with it. I thought it was good, not great.
Mm,
Corey had some other
yeah.
strong opinions about it. Some pretty strong opinions about it. You guys could check his channel for it. But let's just say he was not enthused by
Yeah.
many of the choices within. But
Right.
so that's it. The DC universe is over. I on this podcast I ranked them all, and I think at the end of the day, and the Corey agree or disagree with me on this. I think at the end of the day, the DCEU was a failure. It had some high
Hmm.
points, definitely. It had some of my favorite comic book movies, but
Yeah.
it's just as an overall venture a failure. A
Yeah.
failure on several different levels. And I just wanted to ask, why did the DCEU fail? Why do you, in your opinion, why
Yeah.
do you think this happened?
I agree with you. I think the DCEU, it was a failure. I mean, there are some bright spots in there, but overall, there's a lot of things that are subpar. And I think the main reason why the DCEU failed is because they were trying to fast track everything to keep up with Marvel. That was the beginning of the weak foundation of this DCEU. If they didn't look at what Marvel was doing and stayed their course, then we would have been fine. We would have been fine. But when they fucked it up? They fucked it up when they made Batman versus Superman. That to me was the pivotal moment. The crack in the foundation happened and it never recovered.
Which is kind
But
of
I got
fucked.
a whole lot to
Yeah,
say.
it's kind of fucked up because that's literally the second movie in the whole deal. Like there would go on to be like a dozen movies or projects or whatever. That was number two. That's like saying, oh man, they messed. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. It make or break on Captain America, or not even Captain
Yes.
America, on Thor.
That's right.
Or
Thor was the second movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
on Thor make or break. All right. But no, to your point, I think there's several good reasons. The rushing was it. I even thought to myself when we went. So I remember when they were like, "We're gonna do a cinematic universe." Also, I'm like, "Yes, great."
Hmm.
And they're like, "We're gonna start with Superman." I was like, "Again, great." We got Zack Snyder.
Right.
I'm like, "Dope. I like the shit he makes. Cool." Then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna have Justice League in a few years." I'm like, "Wait, wait, what now? Hold up now? You gonna do a
Right.
what? You gonna do a Justice League now?" And then they were like, "And it's gonna be," and then we found out, oh, the bad guy's gonna be Darkseid. I'm like, wait a minute. You done hopped all the way you done hopped all the way to third base. You ain't even hit the ball yet. The ball
For
ain't even
real.
been pitched. How are you at third base yet? You running around.
For real.
Are you like this is gonna be a home run? You pre home running it. You haven't even hit the ball yet.
They ain't
It
even took any
that
practice swings.
this is, I was like, that is a choice. That's definitely a choice. But why go out? Okay, cool.
I'm with you.
What else do you have? So yes, trying to that there is something to be said about running your own race. Yeah, I understand. That may be the problem here is that it was a competition. That's where you fuck up. That DC and Marvel have always called them. They've been rivals. Marvel calls them the distinguished competition. They're the
Hmm.
guys on Uptown. Whatever. I get it. There's friendly competition, but this is kind of like playing golf. Yes, you want to come out ahead of other people, but really, you really want to play the best game you can possibly play. And you're not going to do
Yeah.
that by being mad that the other guy drove the ball 20 yards further than you did.
Yeah,
That you ain't gonna.
exactly.
It bugs me. I don't understand. As Kevin Feige says, I want them to succeed because that means we're all gonna succeed, and
Yes.
it's anyway.
I feel the same way. I am not a person about this DC versus Marvel. I love it all. I want DC to succeed. I was excited when Man of Steel came out. I really liked that movie. And I was with you. When they came out with this Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice shit, I was already scratching my head like, God damn, they doing an awful lot in this one movie. This look, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go off my soapbox a minute, but what the fuck were you thinking about doing this movie? We were only the second movie in, and you literally squeezed three movies into one movie. I mean, come on. You're introducing Batman for the first time. You're introducing Doomsday, which that's another storyline all by
And they
itself.
not just Doom, they fucked up Doom. Not just introduced him.
Oh my God, yes.
Fucked him up. Oh my God. And how dare you disrespect the Cape Crusader like that? That was
Yes.
that you are, and then you threw one man in there too. I'm like, how? You know what?
Yes.
Okay.
And the death of Superman.
And the death. You said three movies. No, they
You're right. There's about four or five movies.
5 storylines, epic storylines
Yes.
that should have waited 4 years.
Yes, absolutely. We didn't even need Doomsday. We didn't even need the death of Superman. We didn't even need Wonder Woman. We didn't even need Batman. What we needed was maybe Superman 2 or just another or a Batman movie as the second movie. They fucking squeezed all this shit in one movie. I was so pissed off. Everything to me was a dismal disappointment until they got to Wonder Woman in 2017. By the time they got to Wonder Woman, they had did Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, a fucking Suicide Squad sucked. Then they finally got to Wonder Woman, which was the fourth movie. That they were 4 movies in when they finally got another good one in, but except Man of Steel. And then after that, you do Justice League, another dismal movie. I mean, it was bad. Bad. I just was so pissed off with Batman v Superman. That to me is the pivotal moment out of all of this bullshit.
I mean, you said Suicide. I like Suicide Squad. It did introduce us to a pretty good Harley Quinn, but
That's the one glimmer of hope out of Suicide Squad for me.
But I mean, but you're not wrong about this. I also think that the other big thing is a lack of a cohesive vision. Like Zack Snyder was clearly supposed to be the architect of this cinematic universe. He screwed the pooch with Batman v Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was pretty clear that they were just like, free for all, do whatever, but sort of try to stay in the line. Try to color in these lines, but like if you go out the lines, I guess okay, it's fine. And so the lack of a cohesive vision. I'm not saying they needed a Feige, maybe didn't, but they needed a group of people that knew what the fuck was going on and could keep everyone in line. And that wasn't.
You need that person.
Zack Snyder wasn't that guy. You know who that guy was? Supposedly was supposed to be that guy was Jeff Johns, and he botched it. He botched it. That and I think it. And I'm not gonna totally shit on him for it. I have a feeling because he's a great comic book writer. He did definitely some of my favorite DC comics. He did, but I think his lack of more experience within the film industry and his lack of pull. He's not a big name. No one's fucking being like, oh, I'm scared of fucking crossing this guy. So his lack of pull kind of ruined that. And look at the difference between him and a Feige. Now obviously Kevin Feige went on to become a studio head, but look at the difference between them. If you look at Kevin Feige's IMDb, his production credits are immaculate.
Absolutely.
They go back to the 90s on some of the first Marvel things. Yeah, he's been on some stinkers too, but you can't deny my man knew what the fuck was going on with Marvel. He knew what was good. He knew what, I mean, by the time he got to be head of Marvel Studios, his resume was impeccable. Go
Hmm.
ask Jeff Johns.
I
Go
agree.
go look at Jeff Johns shit and tell me what. Like, yeah, he's done some cool stuff like CW stuff and everything. I like cool. Look at his
Hmm.
IMDb and it ain't nowhere near Kevin Feige's.
Damn. Flimsy. That's the thing. For him to be in that kind of position, they needed a better person to do that. Not to say that he can't do it, but not for that. Not for this. This it was just way over his head. Kevin Feige, you're right. By the time he got to being the head of, look, this dude did have a lot of shit, and he's such a big comic book head, so he already knows how all this shit's supposed to tie together. Not to say that Jeff doesn't know his comic book stuff, but you can really tell that Kevin Feige is immersed in this shit,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have somebody that's able to steer the ship and keep everybody on course, and Jeff John didn't do that. You can clearly see what this damn lineup that DC had. It was all over the fucking place. I have to backtrack a little bit though, Mo.
Mm-hmm.
You like Suicide Squad?
Hey, I
Really?
yes. Look, and I'm not even saying like, oh, I'm easily pleased. There's fun stuff in that movie. Look, there's a lot of stupid shit in it too, but
Hmm.
on balance, I liked it. I didn't. I'm not saying, oh,
Oh
it's my
man.
favorite. Like, it's not my favorite DC anything, but I had a lot of fun with it. Um,
Well, there are only two things out of that movie that I liked, and that was Harley Quinn. I love her. I thought she did a fantastic Harley Quinn, and I love how I can't remember the name, but Amanda Waller. I love how she was portrayed. Those are the two things out of that movie I like. Everything else I thought was dog shit. I mean, but look, I still can watch the movie because I'm a comic book person. But if I have to rate it, it's near the bottom for me.
yeah, yeah, and that's fair. A lot of people were like, "What is this?" And I get it. It made money though. That's the funny thing. Is it one of the money makers for DC?
Yes, isn't that crazy? I
It,
think that was because it was the hype, but
yeah, yeah. I mean,
nah,
it had big names and everything. Uh, and
mhm.
as far as Jeff John, I think it's pretty clear he started as a comic book writer. He's done screenwriting and everything, but he is not a producer. He's not he is, but he isn't. Kevin Feige's whole
Mhm.
career. Do you know where he started his career? He started working for Richard Donner. This guy has been immersed in filmmaking for decades.
Wow, I did
So
not know that.
so you're
Richard Donner?
yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Or I'm sorry, not Richard. Did he work for him directly? I know he
But still,
Richard Donner's daughter who ran his company.
mhm.
So he's been
Oh
immersed
gosh,
in he's been immersed in it for decades. So
yeah.
so you have studio, the studio people were, and here's the other thing. Johns was, he eventually had power taken away from him. They had Cat what's it Imahara, not Imahara, that's a different person, but Harada or something like that was a guy that, but
Mhm.
and then he was an executive that they eventually was in charge of it. And then they had Walter Hamada later on, before the DC films, completely broke up. He was, but he was like kind of an executive, but without a huge amount of power. Which brings me to
Mhm.
my other thing that I think was a problem, which was the shifting executive landscape. Who was running? Who was giving orders, so to speak? Who was
Mm.
over the person that was in charge of the studio? There was a lot, and
Mhm.
we saw a bit of this at Marvel, or not Marvel, at Disney, with the whole Bob Chapek and everything, and he sort of
Right.
shook up the the executives over there. But literally, in the course of the DCU, from its start to its end, I think three different corporate ownerships.
Yes.
You had
Yeah, I think it was
you
about
had
three.
three different corporate ownerships. You had different executives who were in charge of the film division, that were in charge of DC itself. There was a lot of shaking. So you had no not even firm foundation from a creative side, no firm
Mm.
foundation from a production side, but you also had no firm foundation from the executive side, the money side. And so you had a lot of cross purpose, a lot of changing of priorities, a lot of people who could write checks but couldn't fucking write a script to save their lives, telling people that were creative what to do. And it
Yeah.
shows. it
It
shows
does.
in the progress of the DC, because mind you, they have $1 billion film, right? And
Hmm.
it had nothing. The executives didn't know that. They were just like, "Oh, James Wan, okay, do something with this goofy ass character." Uh, they had what was it, Wonder Woman, that did really good, and critically and
Hmm.
everything like that. They didn't have anything to do. The executives, they didn't know what the fuck was going. They didn't know that. What I feel like over at Marvel, at Disney, when Alan Horn was the in charge of all the film division,
Hmm.
he could look down at Kevin and be like, Kevin says that's gonna be a hit. Okay, cool. Go
Yeah.
for it. Go forth and make me my money. But not
Hmm.
not so at
Hmm.
DC. Not so at DC.
Oh, absolutely. No, they had no clue. No clue. They were just throwing them out there and see which one hits the bullseye. I mean, they had no clue. They didn't know Aquaman was going to make $1 billion. Hell no. They had no trust in Wonder Woman. I mean, they let Kathleen Kennedy, do it, and
Oh,
it
what's
was
wait
critical.
wait
It
what
was
what
they
was
was
her
like,
name?
wow.
What was her name?
I'm sorry, not Kathleen
Uh,
Kennedy. Lord, I forgot the director's name. Lord, let me pull that up real quick before I
but
before I fuck this up.
no,
I don't
but
want to get
no, you're right.
railroaded.
No, you're right. They let them do, and that bit of freedom, because they didn't know what the hell was going on. That's
Right.
cool, but it also leads to shit like Birds of Prey, which I liked, but a lot of people didn't like. Like,
I
and,
like
and,
Birds
and
of Prey.
but there's some stuff in Birds of Prey that's real fucking suspect, right?
True.
But it leads to stuff like Batman v Superman, that which to me only becomes good when you watch the extended version. It you know
Hmm.
it leads to it leads to I want to say Aquaman 2. Aquaman 2 not terrible, but not that good either.
Oh no.
I like it, but it's not that great. It leads to things happening within
You know what
the
Aquaman 2
series.
reminds me of? Burnt toast. Like you'll still eat it because it's edible and you're like, okay, it's not that bad. I can dust the crust off, and still eat it. That's what Aquaman 2 reminds me of. Burnt toast.
Yeah,
Like some people like burnt toast, some people don't. Look, I'm like, fuck that. You burnt my toast. I don't like it, yo.
yeah. Throw that shit right out. But
Throw that shit in the trash.
but I mean, I think the shifting executive landscape, that is crucial, because one of the things is, they're gonna sort of set priorities, they're gonna set the tone and everything. But another thing is, if you don't know who your boss is gonna be in a year, how likely are you to do anything radical? How likely are you to take chances? Are you going to trust that the person that you started working for is going to be the person you're working for later, who isn't going to take you to the mat for some decisions you made?
Absolutely.
Case in point, fucking David Zaslav. He run, he
Hmm.
hit Discovery buys Warner Brothers, and shit that was in the pipeline gets shelved because they think they can't make any money off of it. And hey, they might have been right. They may have. Who the
Hmm.
fuck knows? They saw Batgirl, and they thought, this ain't a thing. We're not gonna make any money.
Yeah.
Throw this shit away, right? Maybe they're
Yeah.
right. Maybe they're wrong. But they started making that film. They made an honest attempt to make a good film, and we'll never
Hmm.
know if it's any good because
Never know.
the executives changed.
Yeah. It just sucks. They came in and looked at that and was like, "Oh, we're not doing that," which sucks. I mean, because the film was done, and we just never even get an opportunity to even see what it looked like, which really sucks. And everything that you're saying makes absolutely perfect sense, from the production, the executive, the creativity, the cohesiveness. Everything was just botched, man. And you can tell over the time period, over this 10-year time frame of movies, how they progressively there are a lot more duds in those later years. I mean, there are better movies in the early years and in the later years.
Yeah,
And Black. I mean, look, I don't hate any of the movies, but they're not as good as they could have been. In those later years.
yeah.
Definitely Aquaman too.
Um, I mean, there is definitely an aspect of we're cash grabbing some of this, and I'm not saying like that's the point, but obviously that's a merchandising machine. So there was a lot of cash grabbing going on, trying to get people buying stuff related to it, especially toys and everything like that. I get that. Look, everybody's gonna do that.
Hmm.
The problem is that so you spend this last decade, running after Marvel, trying to catch up, trying to get your first Avengers out, trying to be like them. You do all this chasing, and it's clear to anyone who's paying any kind of attention that hey, these guys are trying hard, right? They're tryhards, right? The problem with being a
Hmm.
tryhard, that when people know you're a tryhard, is when you come up short, you look bad in comparison. Marvel is out
Yeah.
there on an unprecedented win streak,
Hmm.
and DC is stumbling left, right, and center, and it becomes a narrative about not as good, not even as good as the Fox
Hmm.
stuff, not as good
Yeah.
is that last one. Every progressive one that isn't as good, that doesn't meet
Hmm.
expectation, that doesn't deliver characters that we expect. Every time that
Hmm.
happens, it makes people be like, maybe I'm not going to go see this, right?
Right. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so they it's kind of snowballed on them. It's
Uh,
unfortunately this lower
Yeah.
and lower and lower expectation really kind of
Yeah.
messed with them.
I agree with that, man. I agree with that. Especially when you start putting out stuff that just doesn't work and you're like, damn, that what happened there? And then when the next one doesn't work, it really does rob the average moviegoer to even want to go out to see it, especially for comic book people like myself and you, that we even start questioning wanting to go see the next movie, even though we want to see it because we're finally seeing characters that we love on the big screen. We even start feeling like, dag, man, what are they doing here? So I feel you on that.
Yeah, it's so lower expectations hit, um, and even like even they become risk averse. They start doing like really safe and really boring shit, or
Hmm.
they do something kind of out of the left field or something like that, and it just doesn't hit. Even like I think Shazam, the first Shazam, I think is great. I love that movie.
Me
And
too.
but
I
it
like it too.
just the lack of name rec. So they bank on characters that they make good stuff with characters that are not well known or not like the difference between Shazam and Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is such a striking, interesting character that
Hmm.
she hits all of the right kind of notes. She's weird, she's kind of an
Hmm.
anti-hero, and she doesn't have to be a hero anyway because she's not Superman or Wonder Woman or whatever. She
Right. Right.
she's got a cool look. They've got a great actress
Hmm.
that's playing her. They're giving her fun stuff. She's Joker adjacent. There's everything
Hmm.
impossible is in her favor to be a bit. And also women can cosplay as her. That you
Yes.
y'all how much did DC not understand that you have got to get women into the fucking theater? You have got to.
Yes.
If you look at Marvel, yeah, it's there's a lot of sausage going on. It's comic
Yeah.
books.
Marvel dropped the bag on that. They
But
did.
even in the midst of that, you have Iron Man, you have Thor, you have Captain America. I mean, what straight woman isn't going to want to go see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
Then you throw in Scarlett Johansson, who just like lights the screen up as Black Widow.
Hmm.
Then you bring
Oh
in
yeah.
Black Widow. Then you bring in Black Panther. I mean, you got there's so much there. Like
Hmm.
if you're a woman that likes superhero
Hmm.
or nerd shit, there's plenty in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What is there in the DC universe?
Yep.
There's Wonder Woman. There's Harley Quinn. Maybe you like Momoa,
Hmm.
bro Momoa. Henry Cavill, I don't think brought the kind of appeal that you would think, even though he was bulked out and looking like a badass, but not really.
Yeah.
Who the fuck else do you have in the DCEU? You don't have Flash.
They.
It ain't
Nope.
Flash. Maybe
Nope.
Momoa. You don't have really Batman because, like, I'm sorry to say, I liked Affleck as Batman. Ain't no sex appeal about his fucking Batman. They're just
Well, because they never built on it.
yeah.
I mean,
And
that was the issue. We never got a chance to even build on who Bruce Wayne was.
yeah, and to be fair, and I'm not saying like all the women they only come to see the hot dudes. No, they're coming to see characters that they can kind of attach to for any given reason.
Right.
The only reason why women don't just like Thor because Chris Hemsworth is hot. It's his character is interesting too. There's a character that
Yeah.
they can attach to.
Yeah.
With Harley Quinn, there's this woman that's just like kind of doing her shit, and she don't take shit from nobody, and she looks cool. And
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
when you see Harley Quinn, when a woman cosplays as Harley Quinn, you know what you're seeing. She is an
Yeah.
iconic character. Shazam's not that.
Do you?
And
I feel
I'm not
you,
saying for
and
the women. I'm just saying as a character, Shazam's not that. He's a sort of Superman, a goofy Superman.
yeah, you're right. And you hit the nail on the head. Do you know that if they did it right, Harley Quinn could have been just as big, if not bigger, at the box office or overall in this pop culture than Wonder Woman? I mean, if they did it right, she could have been huge. The same way that Marvel took the characters that people just threw away, like Iron Man. What the fuck, Iron Man, and Captain America? What the fuck, Captain America? And Thor, and these characters, and Ant Man. These characters that nobody even thought could be these huge beloved characters. That's what Harley Quinn was. Even though I love Harley Quinn and she's amazing, they could have did that with Harley Quinn in the DC universe. If they did it right, because she has all the things going in her corner, she could have been huge for them.
Yeah.
Huge. But they really fucked it up. They dropped the ball not only on her but in so many other things too.
It's amazing to me that they have characters with huge name recognition, and they couldn't capitalize on it. They went into the whole situation thinking obviously everyone knows these characters. Obviously everyone wants to see Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. It's a no-brainer. It's going to be a walkover. We only have to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost sight of the fact that people may know who these people are, but they've got to want to see them. Got to connect with them. That's why Man of Steel did pretty good, because people were waiting, but it wasn't the Superman they were looking for. Wonder Woman did really good after a couple of really not good movies, right? And managed to kind of bring people back and be like, oh, maybe they're getting their shit together. That's what I'm talking about. Like maybe Marvel had it harder because they were trying to make you care about characters you didn't know about, or casual didn't know about. But maybe DC had it worse because they had the mountain of expectation that they had to ascend, and they weren't able to quite do it, mainly because the people they entrusted the stories to early on, Zack Snyder, I'm looking at you, didn't really quite get. And they tried it. I'll give them this. With Suicide Squad, they tried it to go with unknown characters and make you give a fuck about them, but you already fucked that up because they are characters who, by default, could stop existing at any moment.
Yes.
It's baffling because I love it. Look, I grew up reading comics, mainly Marvel. I was a Marvel person, and then in my 20s I realized, oh shit, nah, DC is dope actually, and I've been missing out. They have great characters. There's no reason they couldn't have made this work. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, James Gunn made it work with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew nothing about any of those characters, Star Lord and Groot and I mean, I knew nothing about any of these characters. They made me care about a fucking raccoon in a fucking tree. That's how good the writing and story and what James Gunn does. They needed that in the DC, and they just thought, oh no, we'll just get big names and make it work. We'll get Will Smith and Margot Robbie, and that's not enough. That's not enough. You need to have people care about the characters, and they fucked it up. That's my main thing. Well, Batman v Superman, but Batman v Superman is the reason why, because they thought, oh, we got big names. We thought Wonder Woman in this movie, we got Batman in this movie, we got Superman in this movie. Oh, this should be a hitter. We should knock this out the park. No problem.
Yep.
That wasn't the case.
And we got all these people in Justice League. Obviously, it's going to work. And you were talking about James Gunn. They did eventually, through some happy circumstances, not for James Gunn, but for them, they did eventually get him over there. and he did a great job. The two things he did for the
Fantastic.
DCEU, absolutely great, because and
Yep.
he understood the assignment. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is, and this is my next point. This is a twofer. The pandemic and streaming fucked
Mm.
the DCEU so hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
streaming and the pandemic. See, streaming by itself wouldn't have been a problem, right? The
Yeah.
pandemic is what made it bad, and
Hmm.
Marvel and Disney are feeling this pain right now too. A lot of studios are. The expectation of being able to see newer movies real fast
Hmm.
on streaming, and also Jason Kilar, who used to be the CEO of Warner Brothers, he pushed that whole day and date shit for a whole year on Max, to build Max up and to deal with the pandemic and the fact that a lot of things, movie theaters were closed.
Hmm.
He pushed that and forever fucked DC for the rest of the DCU's existence, because
I can agree with that.
the expectation that you can see this new thing the same day it comes out in theater. Why the fuck would you go to the theater for it? That
Yeah, because they did that with Wonder Woman 84, right?
Yeah, well, they did that with
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 84. They did that with the Suicide Squad.
Hmm.
They did
Yep.
they stopped after that, but they people were set into the mode. Within a month or two, we're gonna see this shit. Why do I go to the theater?
Yeah.
Most people see.
Absolutely.
I am a theater snob. I absolutely prefer to see spectacle movies on a big ass screen with great sound. I will take my
Hmm.
ass out to the theater to go see it. But a lot of people are like, nah, I got a flat screen at the house. I pay
Hmm. Hmm.
for Max. Why the fuck would I go to see this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of people like that. Like, well, I'll just wait for it to come out. Why
Yeah,
am I going to rush to see a movie? Spend, $30. I can
yeah.
just see it right here.
And
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
why would I go spend 30, 40, 50, depending on how many people you're taking? Why would I spend that money?
Exactly.
Why would I spend that money on a movie that probably ain't gonna even be that good? Cause look at what DC
Right.
been doing.
Yep. If their track record already is shaky, why would I spend all that money on a movie that may not be that good? Because
Yeah,
movies like this are meant to be family movies where you take the kids and stuff like that. So you're spending $150 easy, depending on the size of the family. But most people are like, look, I'll just watch it at home.
yeah.
You know?
And
Yep.
so the pandemic accelerates streaming, which accelerates the people exiting the theaters, which accelerates the downfall of the DCU, because in that process now, and see, so you have these executives that are changing. They're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. They're some of them are jumped over, some of them have jumped overboard, some of them are still there. They're like, all right, orchestra, continue, keep playing something, right?
Keep playing while the ship is
Yeah,
going down.
and people are seeing this, and the perception is continuing to be like, where is this building to? The final
Hmm.
nail in the coffin of the DCEU.
What's that?
Publicly acknowledging a year before it even fucking happens
Oh,
that
yes. I
that the
would.
DC
Yes.
that James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking
Hmm.
over and rebooting the DC. You still got 4 movies to come out,
Hmm.
right?
That's true.
And so these are the sacrificial lambs which
Yeah.
I hate, and I hate it for all of the filmmakers involved with the final ones.
Hmm.
I especially feel bad for Blue Beetle, because it's a great
That's what I was
movie.
going to say. Blue Beetle, yes, that was the one I felt the most saddest about, because I was so happy to see that we were going to get Jaime Reyes on, because I like Blue Beetle as a character. My first introduction to Blue Beetle was on Young Justice. So getting into that, because I did not like Blue Beetle in the comics, but I did like this version of Blue Beetle, and it was part of the four, and I was like, "Fuck," you're right. Damn, I forgot about that they announced that a year before these four movies dropped.
Yeah,
Yep, spot on, man.
and people were just like, Oh well, why the fuck am I? So you already have people being like, well, why do I need to go see this? People are starting to ask that about Marvel movies now, but they've been asking that for years. Do I need to go see this?
Hmm.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
Harley Quinn. Why do I need to see this? Is how does this
Hmm.
relate to the DCEU? Right?
Hmm.
How does that relate?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that final bit, that's the nail in the coffin. I don't have to go see this. Oh, it's not. Oh, it's ending. Oh, okay, okay.
Hmm.
It's worse than the post Endgame effect. Way worse because at least people were like, well, I guess the Marvel universe is it's other stuff coming out. Oh, okay, I guess I'll go see that. With the DC
Right.
thing, they're like, oh, none of this shit matters. Fuck that. I don't need to see this.
Hmm.
It's probably trash anyway. I'll catch it on streaming.
And there was 4 movies left. I remember that: Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and then Aquaman 2, all in 2023.
Yeah,
Damn.
I'm a comic book movie stan. I really am. I will see anything that's comic book related. I really will. And
Hmm.
I'm at
Me
work
too.
having to fucking talk this shit up to people who in 2 years before would have been like, "Oh, I'm going to go see that." I'm I'm I'm
Hmm.
I'm doing marketing for the DCEU, trying to tell people, no, actually, it's a good movie. You should. I'm sitting up here giving them a dissertation about, well, actually, if you should just go see movies, you should see movies just so you can have a good experience. Don't worry about the cinematic universe and everything.
Right.
Marvel, and this is a kind of a shadow point here. Marvel fucked DC so hard with the shared universe thing. They fucked them so hard because now
Yes.
everyone's like, oh, aren't they all related? And
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
they rule. Oh man, to be quite honest, they cut that hamstring before they even started the race with the
Yeah.
shared
Yeah.
universe thing. It's
Yeah. They really did. I mean, I give it to Marvel because it was innovative and creative. It was something that had never been done before. And to live through such a cinematic experience leading to Endgame, I'm so glad that I got to experience that. But DC trying to imitate what Marvel did, nah, bruh, you fucked up. You
yeah,
cannot do that.
yeah.
They just,
It's I mean they had so many things against them, so many things.
yeah.
It's so many things, in fact, that when you look at the totality of all of the obstacles and difficulties and let's call it what it is, self-owned sometimes, that the DCEU went through, it is a testament to like just great perseverance that they managed to have some of the all-time great comic book movies or comic book properties of Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad, the first Wonder Woman, Aquaman,
Hmm.
those,
Yeah.
I'll even throw Man of Steel in there a little bit too. These are some
Yeah.
all-time great
Those
comic
are the
book
high points.
properties,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
managed to actually do some pretty outstanding
Mhm.
things in spite of all of this shit.
I
And
agree. And
and
the funny thing about it, James Gunn did 2 of them.
yeah, that's true. Very true. So, I think I kind of want to kind of end on that point, which is let's celebrate. I don't like to shit on things. I like to celebrate things. And so I actually just want to say, despite all of that stuff, they managed to really make me happy many times. And I'm glad on balance that they did it. That they
Hmm.
failed, that sucks. I'm glad on balance that they did what they did because we
Yeah.
wouldn't have had some really great things otherwise.
That I can agree with.